Lawmakers in our area are raising concerns over those healthcare premiums spiking, with Minnesota's open enrollment just 24 days away.
And Northern News Now's Kyrie Johnson joins us in studio. Kyrie, you've learned a lot today. What should people expect here?
Yeah, Dan and Laura, so a federal tax cut that lowers healthcare premiums was at the center of that dispute over government funding, which insurance companies say leaves thousands of Americans in limbo when it comes to healthcare costs. That federal tax credit was established in 2021 in the COVID-era American Rescue Plan. It was built to help more low-income families afford insurance policies. Minnesota insurance companies say those enhanced tax credits have helped to cover costs for more individuals and families who buy health insurance on their own. However, the credit is set to expire at the end of the year.
So if Congress doesn't act, we expect 90,000 Minnesotans to feel an increase in their monthly premium bill, and over 19,000 of them will lose access to all financial help.
On average, Column says consumers who get tax credits today are looking at a cost increase of about 54%, with those living in greater Minnesota and those 55 and older being hit hardest. Here's what many Duluthians face.
We would expect to see average increases at about $186 per month, and that's over $2,200 annually. Just from the tax credits going away.
Healthcare management professor and former state rep Jen Schultz says the expiration of the tax credits will also cause long-term issues.
Premiums will double for many people, and they'll decide that they can't afford that, and they will go without health insurance.
That in turn will lead to more uncompensated care, leading to providers hiking premiums for people who do pay for insurance.
Most people, regardless of your party affiliation, whether you're Democrat, Republican, or Independent, are in favor of extending these subsidies.
Now, open enrollment for 2026 health coverage begins November 1st. Column suggests making a plan prior to that date to get all necessary information regarding plan options. Live in studio, Kyrie Johnson, Northern News Now.